Whoa, what's good with your YouTube and YouTube busted? Your boy Triple Cup Chuck and I'm up. And appreciate you for coming rock with me, like, sharing, and subscribing. And if you have an opinion about the situation that's going on, leave a comment below. I'm gonna read it. Because when you comment, our collective minds put together, we bring synergy. This how we starting the video off? By Kevin Feige having complete control over Marvel, not just the MCU, but Marvel. What would that do for the MCU and the TV verse, especially when it comes to for the love of the Netflix shows Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, The Defenders, and The Punisher? Which character you campaigning to see reprise they role in the MCU? I'm diving. Let's do this.
Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night. I'm up. Double cup, feel it right. Told Chuck, I feel like every night is all night.
This video off, the best way to kick this video off is to start off by talking about the person who jump started this Netflix Marvel universe, and that's Daredevil. And talking about Daredevil, some of the characters on them I personally would like to see reprise their role, and it start off with the main character is Charlie Cox himself as Daredevil, Matt Murdock. Think about this here. Everybody know who he is. Everybody has seen him. Everybody has know the story of Daredevil. You don't have to do an origin story. He already portrays the role to perfection. And it simply, I say it the same way as they do on in the MCU when I say about with the X-Men. You could always have more than one thing that's going on at the same time. They didn't say nothing about that conflicts with the MCU movies, and at the same time they complimented them, but they were showing you stuff that was going on a ground level while you seeing the big MCU taking on this big massive level destruction stuff. And now you could have it where Kevin Feige could integrate these characters into the movies, especially like Charlie Cox. He could come into the Spider-Man movie and he could be like, you know what I'm saying, his lawyer. And he could simply go do that and turn back around and have his own Daredevil series that continues. And they could do it on like Hulu or something like that, whichever Marvel would like to go with Kevin Feige. And now you could tie it into the MCU. And by the way, the structure of these shows is they just take a whole season and drop them at the same time. They could still use these same shows and go with that same format. That way it won't conflict what's going on in the MCU. So you can have these movies coming out, and then you can have like Daredevil, and you could just drop all of his episodes, and you could always have it where this take place in between this film, or you can actually bag it up to say what stuff that happened in the MCU you could show from different perspective what Daredevil probably was in and out, do this here while they showing this stuff going on, and they could pick up and it actually could lead all the way up into an in-between part where it could be like the show that's on the Disney streaming service, or as long as it stays where it don't affect what's going on, or even give no spoilers. They don't even have to do that because they taking place in things that's on a ground level. And if they want to throw Easter eggs in there, that's always an extra. And now, speaking of let's go ahead. I'm gonna getting a little bit left for a second, but let's go ahead and get to talking about Kingpin. I think his name is Vincent, but the dude that played Kingpin, played an amazing role. So they could actually use him, bring him back as Kingpin, and introduce him as Spider-Man as well. That would be the perfect combination because he actually looked like Kingpin. You have an origin, and the other thing is too, they don't have to change nothing about none of the stuff that's going on because it still fit right along. People saying, oh, when they introduce like characters like Deadpool and this other character that's gonna start diluting the MCU and stop making everything on point, but the MCU don't care about being on point no more because the end game, that was the only thing they wanted to make sure that everything fit inside of a certain box on that. Now they could kind of open up and kind of spread their wings a little bit more. That's true. that they don't have to be so responsible for making everything fit perfectly. But at the same time, why not shoot for perfection when it's still handed right there to you, especially on the simple note of something like this? All these things was going on at the same exact time, but this is showing stuff that's going on from a ground level. That's it. Simple way of explaining it. Don't try to make some diluted jumping through a portal, coming from a different dimension to into this dimension. Now we here type thing. They don't have to do all that because they'll be overdoing something. But some of the characters I can understand if they don't retrieve their role, like what's his name, Paige. Her not Kevin Foggy or Foggy. You know what I'm saying? If he wouldn't praise his role, I could understand they don't really mention her. The girl that played Elektra, I would love to see her come back as Elektra as well. But if she don't come back as Elektra, you know what I'm saying? No harm, no foul. Because I know their MCU will find another person that could actually fit the perfect role of Elektra. So I'm kind of got, like, you know what I'm saying, open arms with that one. But Charlie Cox, he is like the number one person. So that's my introduction of why I'm campaigning to say I think Charlie Cox should be reintroduced as Daredevil. Don't have to do an origin story, but they could just continue his story, and if they want to, just kind of like flash on different things that happen in his origin. If they want to go back and touch on it, they don't have to explain none of those things. You could just pretty much say that it happened, and they could have him, this is his introduction, where he started from this point on. You know what I'm saying? This is gonna be ground zero for him when they introduce him here, and they could see the changes that they made. Pretty much similar as how they did with Supergirl when she came from one network and then she moved to another network. They could follow that same mentality and brag about the upgrade that they getting or whatever they want to do, because you know they're gonna throw shots. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on Charlie Cox is Daredevil. I would like to know what your opinion is. Do you think Charlie Cox should reprise his role as Daredevil, or you think that they should recast him? Now, from that being said, I want to see some comments below, and let's get it, because I'm gonna respond to you, because I like to see this synergy that we put together. Now, next up goes for motherfucking hire, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. The people were so outraged about Iron Fist, and other people's like it was still comic book accurate, but it was boring. And some people say Luke Cage was boring and he wasn't doing nothing. It was so much left and so much right. But these two iconic characters, what do I think Kevin Feige should do since he had full control over the MCU? Should they reprise their role, and who should reprise their role within the Iron Fist Luke Cage saga? Now, personally, like I said, it's my opinion. Now, with Iron Fist and Luke Cage, if they get recast, I'm cool with the two main characters being recast. Now, it's not much to say, but the dude that played Luke Cage, Mike, whatever his name, I'm not too familiar with him. He doing other roles. I see him on TV. They got a Halloween special that he got coming out about some ghost type stuff or whatever. So he's working on other things. So right now, I'm looking at, he looked like Luke Cage. He played a good Luke Cage. The seasons was okay. It was decent. If they continue with him and they decide to go with him and they just continue, everything would be okay. It wouldn't be nothing special. It'll just be okay. But same thing goes with Iron Fist. If they just do the same thing, continue with them, it'll be okay. Now, if they change the characters, or even if they keep the same characters, but me personally, I would say change the characters. Luke Cage, go for more of a modern day look, real or realistic, and a modern day mind frame. So you give him a modern day look. Iron Fist, give him the same thing, but give him that you know, saying a person like the who they say, like the kids that vaping, they are not hippies, but the today's hippies or whatever they call them, the millenniums or whatever, like that. Just give him that type of mentality, so when people see him, they'll be more introduced into him like that. And this my thing with Netflix did, what the difference is what Marvel and the MCU could do. What I would like to see is the same way. I'm gonna give an example. The same way they did Black Panther, they did Captain America, Civil War, and they did Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame. How they juggled so many characters at the same time that had different things that was going on. Now with Iron Fist and Luke Cage, what they could do if they were like with these two characters, if they reintroduced them with two new characters instead of having one origin story, bring both of the two origin stories and mix them together that's going on at the same exact time, and they meet up to become heroes for hire. And they, instead of doing an origin for them, just do an origin for heroes for hire, and have what Iron Fist got going on, and at the same thing with Luke Cage got going on, and you can stretch it, and not stretch it, but intertwine it to have it the origins for heroes for hire with two brand new characters. Don't do no Luke Cage series, don't do no Iron Fist series, but just do a heroes for hire with these two iconic characters and bring them together. Marvel know how to juggle characters. So my personal opinion, the recasting of Iron Fist, he looked like the perfect Iron Fist, act like the perfect Iron Fist. Same thing with Luke Cage. But for me personally, I wouldn't mind a recast of these two characters just because of my personal opinion of the mishandling of these characters. Jessica Jones, I'm gonna wipe out of existence because she don't have no place into this. She's supposed to be a side character. She shouldn't have her own show. She should just be something that just goes in back and forth, like how the girl that played Claire, how she the girl that played character that helped fix the people and stuff like that. She should be like a private eye investigator that you go hire, and she had a little bigger role than just a person that just walking by. But she shouldn't have a role so big when she have her own show, like Alfred or Lucius or something like that. She's supposed to be a character that's in her lane right there. Now on the other hand of this Misty Knight, and I think her name is Jessica Hawkins, who played what it was, Colleen Wing, I guess. I forgot. My bad. I'm sorry. It's been a while since I seen the shows. But anyway, those two characters, man, I love to see them come together and make a show with her and Misty Knight. So that would be amazing to see that, and they can actually import that over, and they could introduce them into the bigger universe. And those two characters, I would prefer to see reprise their roles as the characters out of the Daredevil, I'm about to say Daredevil universe, out of Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Those are the only two characters that I would love to see reprise their role out of those two series. And with Jessica Jones, I'm just gonna say she don't have to be in the MCU, period. So those are my opinion. Do you feel like the person that played Iron Fist and Luke Cage should reprise their role? Or do you feel like they'll do better by recasting and starting over? Or you might be siding with me, sorta or differently. Whichever direction, just leave a comment about this situation below, because this is the second part of it. And I'm going to do one more, I'm going to save for the last part of this here. And it's about the Punisher. So y'all ready to go dumpster diving with this here? Let's do this. When it comes to the embodiment of a character, John Berthoud was one of the top tier people to ever do it. Like Robert Downey Jr., embodiment of Iron Man. Like Hugh Jackman, embodiment of Logan. Man, you have so many iconic characters that has been embodied, like the recently Walking Phoenix embodiment of the Joker. This is one of those characters where I could happily and gladly say this here. The people that's on his show from the Netflix series is no strings attached to him, besides for one in particular person. And if they do, I would love to see them bring him on. Jason. Now, this person right here, from my understanding, is an actual war vet. And you know what I'm saying, he actually did a lot to influence the making of this movie. So I would love to see him continue on with that. Now with them bringing the Punisher into the MCU, people saying, well, the Punisher had too much blood, too much glory, they had too much shooting, too much killing, too much violence. Now check this out. One place that this could actually be done now, we have this here. Kevin Feige have complete control over Marvel. That's the TV and the movie universe. Now you have movies like Deadpool that's coming out. You have characters like Blade, Ghost Rider. You have all these iconic characters that Marvel could come out with a Marvel Black without the castle from Disney to put out all of their shows and put them under one roof under like say Hulu somewhere they have all of this control over, or if they Disney streaming service is like they have tiers where you got to be over 18, or they trying to influence for like the adults to purchase this, and not just because Disney have a lot of Disney streaming service where they offer like cartoons and everything else that's animation and child friendly. So I would be wondering what be so different about this in particular one, besides for them offering like the MCU and Star Wars universe. So I would have to think of what is Disney trying to do. I'm guessing is they need to have some more adult themes. That's why Doctor Strange is going to actually be the first MCU horror movie. So they reaching these borders, and then they talking in the works with everybody about, yes, we're going to keep Deadpool the same. We're going to keep him rated R. No worries. They don't want to tell y'all their plans. But what I'm thinking is a person like the Punisher coming over into the same universe, they could use those characters even with Daredevil. And when he come into the MCU, like on Spider-Man, they don't have to like say so-called water him down, but he could just be his regular self. He just don't have to cut off nobody's head. They don't have to have him in those type of predicaments. All I'm saying is that's how you bring the character over, but don't have him doing things that he wouldn't do, or try to accommodate for him being in these type of situations. Just keep the characters amongst how they are, and just keep them in an environment that will suit them. Don't just put them in stuff that they don't need to be in. Like for an example, Daredevil, all he has to do is come on to Spider-Man as the lawyer. They might have a scene where they have a fight where he helps somebody out in the alleyway. They don't have to go all the way into details. They could just show him swinging and then leaving. Anything something simple like that, or introducing him into them. They don't have to go into a depth to try to water down his character. So with the Punisher, they don't have to bring him to the MCU movie theaters. There's gonna be PG-13, and if they do, they actually show people shooting. They could kind of like limit his actual violence and fighting, and do more dialect and talking with him, and have him a part of stuff like that. That way, or they had like big fight scenes where they shooting robots, and he'll come in and maybe the sharpshooter or something like that. You got these characters to use. That's why I'm thinking like they gonna keep the same characters, don't have to worry about the Punisher backstory, because season 1 and season 2 of Netflix, I will say it was an amazing job. If you haven't seen it, it's actually worth a watch. Those 2 seasons, it actually put a whole good bow and wrap and tied up nice and seals, and say here you go, and it's gone off. So basically you could have a Punisher just going somewhere else, and you could continue his story. Or if you want to go comic book accurate, you can actually go from there. You don't have to even do the introduction of no origins with him. You could just say we introducing him into the MCU universe or TV verse, or whatever they like to call it. Well, this is my thoughts about the MCU and what they need to do with the Netflix series show, because Kevin Feige have complete control over the whole MCU. I want to know your thoughts about the Punisher. If you think that that John Berthoud should reprise his role, and do you feel like Jason, like he earned his keeps, that they should at least have him in the movie, or in whatever they do with the Punisher, just kind of keep him, he's supposed to be like, a part of it, because I feel like if it wasn't for him, he is like the lifeline of this movie. So if y'all feeling the same, leave a comment below about the Punisher or the overall Netflix Defenders. If y'all think that they should come with a Defender straight into the MCU with all of them together, or however you feel, I would like to see the different thoughts that we put together as synergy. Well, this your boy Triple Cup Chuck. I know I've been rambling forever, but this is how we doing it. We rocking out. Man, appreciate it, everybody. I'm about this thing. We finna start dropping more stuff. We doing this here.